Welcome to the Thrive Movement Community Guides interview series. Thank you for joining as I introduce you to trailblazers in their fields on your journey to thrive and not just survive. These inspiring change agents provide varied perspectives and gifts from their own experiences to help others and assist them in their lives. My name is Beth Myers, and I'm the owner of Arrival Coaching, and I will be your host today. And I am a law of attraction coach, mentor, and speaker. This month's Thrive movement is focusing on thriving spiritually. And I'd like to introduce you to my friend, Jason Richardson. He is also a fellow coach, and he also assists people with their spiritual connection through offering healing and wellness to as many people as possible through creating and co-creating beautiful moving meditations, hypnosis, and visualizations. This work is accomplished by activating the subtle and not so subtle energetic fields that encompass the human body through certain tones, frequencies, affirmations, rhythms, and brainwave activation. And this allows the listener to release blocks, past traumas, and everything from anxiety to addiction. Jason works one-on-one with clients, offers many MP3 downloads, as well as work directly with other associates in the production of their own unique audible work. So welcome, Jason. So glad you were here today.
Oh, thank you, Beth. It's my pleasure to be here. I feel humbled to be able to be in the same space with you. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. And you're very welcome. I'm very honored that you said yes to joining me on the Thrive Movement Community Guides interview series today. So, I really am intrigued with the work that you do. And I always like to ask guests, what is it that has drawn you into your work that you do in the world? What made you decide to be a coach and to work with hypnosis and the musical component that's part of our being as human beings?
Well, my own desire for healing and wellness is really what I guess catapulted me into the industry, and then through discovering the music and the healing nature of it on my own through various mediums, really opened me up to the possibility that there was something there for me to offer through that medium, through music and tones. And then even moving into like brainwave entrainment and binaural beats, things like that, incorporating all that together as a whole. But really, when it happened for me is I'd had a heat stroke, and I was a farrier. I was a horseshoer, and I did that for 7 years back in my early 30s. And it's really a big part of my story because I was shoeing horses one day, and it was hot in West Texas, and I started feeling dizzy at the end of the day, and got home and with my wife, and we was running the kids to school to register them. It was about 4 or 5 in the afternoon, right at the deadline to get them registered for elementary school, and I went into I guess a blackout, but it was kind of like what some people would call I ended up in the hospital, and I thought I was going to die, and I was having hallucinations and colors, and I thought that was going to be the end of it for me. And they were able to give me fluids and get me stabilized and all that kind of stuff. But something changed in me when that happened, and with the way that I interacted with other people and myself right after that happened. And it was gradual because my recovery from that took several months. And I ended up having to go see a holistic doctor. The traditional medicine would not. I was having migraines and they wouldn't go away. Ended up going and seeing a chiropractor that practices holistic healing, and he was able to rapidly move me into a state of health, to where I started feeling better. And one of the techniques he uses and he practiced was a technique called neuro emotional technique, NETs, and he would use tuning forks, which is where the tones come in my a lot of my work was the tuning fork tones. But that experience of feeling like I was fixing to die, and of course I'm married and I had my children and my wife, and I was worried I guess or that I was going to lose everything and that they was going to go on without me, and that might be it. It's hard to explain, but it changed me fundamentally. It changed me fundamentally. So it allowed me to begin expressing the higher aspects of myself in my daily interactions with other people.
It's so interesting to listen to your story and what you're sharing and others as well, because a lot of times to get that connection, that spiritual connection, many times there's some event that has happened. A lot of times it's something physical that occurs where we kind of that near death experience or
Yeah.
that wakes us up to other possibilities and opens us up. Sometimes it's a tragic event that might occur. And it just seems to break us open to what the possibilities are of healing, of finding other ways to work through things in our life. And it sounds like that really has led you on this spiritual journey for yourself to expand in ways that you might have not thought possible 7 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. It did. It opened that up, and it really brought me to like almost a place of reckoning with myself. Like, okay, who are you, and why are you here? Is there a purpose for you? And if there is, what is the purpose? And through the recovery of the heat stroke, I would soak in hot baths with Epsom salt, and I would listen to different music and alternative tones. And I started listening to some hypnotherapy MP3s from other hypnotherapists, and I just felt connected to it. And I was musical from the beginning. I mean, I started playing guitar as an early teenager, and I'd always had a love for music and playing music. But what I experienced immersing myself in different tones, different types of music, in like a set atmosphere, really also just enhanced like my understanding of myself, maybe, or my ever understanding, or my ever evolving understanding of the nature of myself and the nature of life, the nature of all of us. So
That's a beautiful way to express that experience that you've had, because really that's what it's all about. It's about understanding ourselves more, to understand and bring forth that light and that energy into our present moment. And we're constantly evolving, and
yeah,
some of us are just more aware of it than others, and it's awakening to that, expanding into the fullness of each of our own beings. And that's really you and I share a connection of loving music, and we both bring that forth in some different ways, but similar ways. So, talk a little bit more about the musical component with is it the binaural?
The binaural beats.
Yeah.
They, well, binaural beats are one form of brainwave entrainment. And what that means is that we're going, that the beats themselves enable your brain waves to sync to the frequency that they're pulsing at.
Mm-hmm.
So what creates a binaural beat are two different tones played in each ear, and that creates a third tone. So if you've ever played like on a keyboard, you play two notes,
Mm-hmm.
and they're a little bit not necessarily in tune,
Mm-hmm.
and or if you're trying to tune a guitar or you're trying to tune an instrument and you hear that wobble before it comes in tune, that wobble is a third tone that's created by the two tones that are being played. So it's like a ghost tone. It doesn't really exist, but we perceive it. So in binaural beats, we'll play, say we'll play a 30 hertz tone in the left ear, like a sine wave tone, a pure tone that moves like a sine wave, just real even and not, and like a wave. And then we'll play a 36 hertz tone in the right ear, and the difference between 30 and 36 is 6. So that gives us a 6 hertz binaural beat. So we hear a pulse, but we don't hear the 30 hertz, or we don't hear the 36 hertz. We hear the difference, which is the third note, which resonates at 6 hertz. If that makes sense. It's kind of complex, but if you listen to it and listen to the binaural beat, you'll understand it. And what that does is that allows our brainwave to sync to 6 hertz, which is theta brainwave state. And theta brainwave state is kind of the dreamy brainwave state that we're in when we first wake up, or we go to right before we go to sleep, before it's in between alpha and delta. And that's often when we're in meditation, we'll go into theta brainwave state. So we're not completely asleep, we're not awake, we're in that dreamy place. And so that's what a binaural beat is.
Well, thank you for explaining
Yeah.
that. And I just am intrigued to continue to learn more from you. And I'm just so glad that we're connected and getting a chance to work together on a weekly basis, and just to learn more about how that the waves of music, or the vibrations of the music, can help with healing, and being able to have a better sense of well-being. So what impact have you observed with people that you've worked with, or that you yourself have experienced, with some of the sound healing effects of music, or being in that theta brainwave state?
Well, what's cool about going into that is that it allows the subconscious mind to open up.
Okay.
So when we're in theta, our subconscious mind becomes open, and we are able to go in and use affirmations, suggestions to help, sort of, we'll say reprogram the mind, and I don't know if that's the best word for it, but to affirm to our subconscious that which we want, the way that we want it to act, the way that we want it to feel. We want our subconscious mind to work for us, and we want to work for it and not be at odds with it, because as most of us know, that as we grow up, we take in these agreements as truths, and our subconscious mind often gets filled up in almost like corrupted with conflicting truths. So it will think 2 or 3 different things about a subject, and or something will trigger it and it'll react one way, and something else will trigger it and it'll react another way. And it's just trying to serve us, you know. It's a part of who we are. It loves us and wants us to be, you know, happy and successful and all those great things. So the going into like a theta brainwave state, we're able to go back in and receive the messages and reinforce to our subconscious mind what we wanted to really know. So a lot of the affirmations that we can put in there are affirmations of love and kindness towards ourselves. The way that we talk about ourselves or talk to ourselves, we can go in and reaffirm to the subconscious mind that, hey, you know, I see you, that everything's going to be okay from now on. You know, let's instead of looking and when we make a mistake or we do something that we feel like is not up to standard or how we should do it, instead of saying to ourselves, man, you're stupid, what's wrong with you for doing that, you would say, hey, you did your best, you know, and I love you for trying. And let's do this again. If it was something like that needed to be reaffirmed, but we can go in and put in all kinds of cool affirmations and help the subconscious mind work with our conscious mind. So yeah, that's kind of the gist of why even go into a theta brainwave state, you know. And that's one reason why you would. And then the other is just to feel that dreaminess and just to go into a state of allowing where you're not trying to program anything in other than you just want to feel good in the moment, you know, and you just want to relax.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And what do some of your clients that you've worked with, what do they say that they find from working with some of your meditations that you have recorded that make use of you combine a lot of modalities in the
Yeah.
music that you do. So maybe you can speak to that a little bit and how it assists people or what they say, hey, this has really helped me to have this result.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the tones I use work on the energetic body and the energy centers. So I use solfeggio tones, which the tones themselves correspond to a particular energy center. But just like acupuncture or even EFT tapping, which some people do, that allows our energy to flow more freely through the body. If we're blocked or we have an emotional block, the energy will hang up and we often feel confused or anxious and stuff like that. So the tones that I infuse in the meditations themselves aid to release those blocks, as well as cause our body, our emotional body, to vibrate at that particular frequency. So they're pure tones, and they're based in the frequency of love, you know, which is the ultimate highest frequency there is. So we attune our bodies to a frequency of love, and that really aids into it. So a lot of my clients and people that I work with and that have experienced my meditations have developed a deeper sense or deeper relationship of loving kindness towards themselves, you know, which is basically where it all starts and where our path, our journey starts. So if it's somebody's wanting to start the journey into experiencing, you know, a greater understanding of themselves, you know, I really think it's important that you start with yourself and you start with the relationship that you have with yourself. And that's kind of what I'm geared towards, you know, is to aiding people into coming to that relationship with themselves where they really begin to accept and love themselves. It's, you know, I mean, I've been there, and it's been something that I've struggled with my whole life personally was my self-talk and all those negative programs, you know. And I mean, I could tell you stories just like everybody does, and we all have our story of how it happened, and they're all so similar in so many ways with all of us, you know. And yeah, so it happens, you know. And it's a big deal to be able to begin getting over yourself and getting over that negative talk, or when it comes back up, knowing how to counteract it. So that is my aim with all of my work, is to bring people into alignment, and just to be of service.
Well, I tell you, when just listening to your meditations, especially the loving kindness meditation that you have on your website, that is, I believe, a free download. Is that
It's
correct?
free. Yeah, yeah.
It's a great way to get to experience what you've just described, and really starting within. And when we can start with ourselves, then it's spreading that kindness then to each person that you interact with. And that's another way that we connect, Jason, because that's really my goal, is to increase that loving kindness, starting within, and then to be able to share with others. And that's how we change the world, is we start with
Yeah.
ourselves, and then we move toward being able to help other people do the same thing. So what do you like best about the work that you do with others?
Oh, just seeing people change seeing people change the way that they look at themselves, I guess, the way that they talk to themselves and the way that they look at themselves is the most rewarding thing about it. To see somebody who has been going through a depression or a really hard time, and they're just really down on themselves, and then they begin to love themselves, and you see them begin to find success again in different areas of their life. There's nothing better than being a tool for them, I guess, or aiding somebody in doing that. I would never take credit for somebody finding that spark in themselves and everything, but it sure is fun and rewarding to be there and witness it.
Yeah, it's powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. So that's the whole thing, behind it is just to be part of that light, and
Yeah, we all have that light inside of ourselves, and it's becoming awakened in different
yes,
stages and with different modalities and tools to help us to be stepping into that light each and every moment of our lives, and not dimming that light to make somebody else feel better, or it's just
yeah,
staying fully in your light, and
yeah,
you do that through the different modalities, and just by your presence, your loving kind presence, in connecting with people. So
that's awesome. Yeah,
thank you
and
for
also,
the work you do.
yeah, thank you. And I also through this, I think that we begin to understand ourselves, and we begin to know ourselves, and like I say, we're always evolving, and I don't know that we're ever going to like fully know ourselves, and that we can't, but we can learn our cycles and the nature of our being, and know how to like take advantage of our momentum when we have a momentum, and like for me, breaking cycles, in my body does, and just like everybody does, and but I think that if we become aware of that through the relationship we build with ourselves, we're able to know that when we're in a momentum state, to take action, and when to take action, and then when to draw back and rest, and not beat ourselves up or get negative on ourselves when it's time to draw back and rest. Because I for years would just push myself. If I wasn't always going or always doing something, I felt like, what's wrong? When what was wrong was I needed to rest. So that was part of the cycle of my beingness, is okay, action, 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 draw back, and be okay with that. And we all do it in our own ways. So yeah.
That self-care is so important, and pulling back, and I really, the loving kindness meditation is a combination of a lot of different modalities, and one of them is, explain how the hypnosis piece works in there for people maybe that aren't as familiar
Oh yeah.
Hypnosis, because you add that in the loving kindness meditation as well.
Yeah, yeah, and that's basically the okay. So the gist of the loving kindness meditation is the original Buddhist loving kindness meditation, where we practice kindness towards ourselves, kindness towards another person, a group of people, even an animal or animals. We exude a feeling of love and kindness towards them, but it starts with ourselves and then it ends with ourselves. So for that particular hypnosis, I take the subject, the person, the client, the person that's listening to it into a state of hypnosis, relay the loving kindness meditation, have theta binaural beats playing in it, and I think 528 hertz soft AGO tone and another tone. I can't remember. Well, to affect the heart center and the solar plexus. Uh, and then I bring them out of hypnosis. But while you're in hypnosis, all you're hearing is a relay of the loving kindness meditation spoken through me, and with the idea of your subconscious mind being open and receptive to that. And the thing about hypnosis and that is that and people who are new to hypnosis or haven't experienced it is that you're not going to receive anything that your subconscious mind does not perceive as being beneficial to you or in alignment with who you are as a being. So when I first was going through my hypnosis training to become a certified hypnosis with Evelyn Apostolou, who's incredible, incredible hypnotherapist and an incredible human being. And we could probably talk about Evelyn for a whole
We could.
for a week, but my wife would she would not. She was afraid that I would try to like hypnotize her into like cleaning and stuff like that. It was really funny. So there's all these. So there's some misconceptions about hypnosis, but no, you cannot be hypnotized into doing anything that you don't want or that's not in alignment with you. So if you go see a stage hypnosis like at a carnival or a fair or wherever, and he's getting people to stand up and act a certain way, it's because they have accepted that in their subconscious mind is part of participating in the show. And yes, they do go into a state of hypnosis, but there's only so much they're going to do. And if there was a line drawn, that they wouldn't do it. And hypnosis is like that. I mean, so we're accessing the subconscious mind, but it's only going to allow in or to process what it's in alignment with.
Right. Thank you for explaining that.
Yeah.
Some of our people that are listening or watching are just not familiar or have some misconceptions about hypnosis. And I've actually experienced it a couple of times and just really find it very peaceful. And I really enjoyed the loving kindness meditation that you had from your
Thank you.
website, because it combines the musical piece along with your leading through the loving kindness meditation, which is also uses hypnotherapy as well.
Yeah.
So all this combination of helpful tools and strategies to get you in a very receptive, open, relaxed state of being.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate that. And that's definitely the intention behind that meditation is to do that for the listener. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, Jason, I was wondering, I like to read new things, and I would assume that you do as well. So if you had two books that you could recommend to people to really just get to know a little bit more, and I'm sorry, I have roofers working on my roof.
We're jamming out with the rhythm here.
They are jamming out.
Yeah.
What two books would you recommend for people to expand their consciousness?
Well, that's the first book I would recommend to somebody that was new on the path or wanting to expand their consciousness would be The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yes.
And within that book, we learn that we are the creators of our own reality, and we learn to take responsibility for our lives, and we learn about our self-talk and not to take other people personally, and all these lessons that are in the Four Agreements. It's a beautiful book. And it was the first book I picked up after my heat stroke incident that really triggered that light bulb. And I go, oh my God, I'm responsible for my life. Thank God. Now I get it and I know it. My mom actually had it in her kitchen. I read the back, I read the inside, and I read the first chapter, and I was like, okay, I get it. I'm getting it. So that's the first book. And then the second one would be Truth versus Falsehood by Dr. David R. Hawkins.
Okay.
Yeah, and he was a psychologist, and he worked with women and girls at a ranch, and then his research into human consciousness has been huge. But what he teaches us in Truth versus Falsehood, and also I'll say that he is like at the leading edge of of all of the work that we're doing right now. Dr. Wayne Dyer was reading Dr. Hawkins, but Truth versus Falsehood shows us how we already have inside ourselves an intuition that we can derive truth versus falsehood in any situation. And it's really handy in just general life to go into yourself and figure out what is true and what's not true from anything from politics of the world, because of, like I always said about it, if it's not love, then it's not truth. If it's not coming from a place of love and healing and wellness for every human being on this earth, then it's not true. I mean, it's simple, but our intuition knows that, but our conscious mind and our subconscious mind sometimes wants to analyze everything and break it down into varying degrees. But the truth is the truth. So he showed in the book Truth versus Falsehood, he shows us how to derive truth, and he uses kinesiology and muscle testing, which you can do on yourself to do it. And then he has a scale of different levels of consciousness, and so when you study the different levels of consciousness, you can see kind of where you're at on your level of consciousness, and how it evolves, and how sometimes our consciousness raises and then something will happen and our consciousness falls, and how the consciousness of the planet works together, and the consciousness of your city, the consciousness of your home, and all the different levels of consciousness. So it's a very fascinating book. If
it sounds like it.
Yeah.
I've not read that one. I've read the first one, and based some of my work that I used to do in the elementary schools that I worked at, used the Four Agreements and kind of made it a little more kid friendly.
Yeah.
How that it was helping set the tone for loving kindness within the school to prevent bullying.
Yeah.
And so you and I are connected in so many ways here, Jason.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Suffering. So, wow. Well, thank you so much for sharing the two books that really have been impactful in your life and help shift some of your consciousness and awakening in your life, and to be able to serve and assist other people. So, Jason, how can people get in touch with you as we have the beat and the rhythm of the roofers working at the moment? How can they get in touch with you?
They can go to authenticmeditations.com, and from there, all my contact information, my email information's on there. My Facebook page is on there, and even my phone number's on there. So if somebody wanted to just call me, they could, or shoot me a text. But yeah, I work with individuals one-on-one on everything from depression through and self-esteem, through managing weight loss, and you know, pain, healing the pain body, physical pain, all just about everything that's tied to any emotional uh, trauma, or just you just want to feel good. I work through the whole list of all those things. So yeah.
Yeah. Do you do virtual appointments with people, like via Zoom, or
Yeah, by Zoom or Skype. Yes. Yeah.
that way then you can do distance work with them, but be with them, physically, as opposed to just talking? Because a lot of your work, I would imagine, being able to see somebody and see their energy and see the response that may be coming from the music. And
Yeah, definitely, definitely. It's nice when I can work with somebody on Zoom or Skype versus the phone, because I can see how they are in hypnosis, and how they're responding. So it's nice. And then on one-on-one, I work here out of my house or out of a local art gallery, a room in a local art gallery, and do one-on-one work on people like that. And I'll do a lot of tuning work with the tuning forks, and take them into hypnosis, and then work with the tuning forks on their emotional body, and their like that. Yeah. So,
well, fabulous, fabulous. Well, Jason, I so appreciate your time and sharing with my community the wonderful work that you do in the world, and just connecting spiritually. We talked about thriving spiritually, and a lot of
yeah.
it has to do with the energy that we bring in this life here, with one another, and feeling that connection and opening up to being guided within what we choose to do and how we choose to show up each and every day. And I appreciate the work that you do and the way that you serve. And thank you so much for joining us on the Thrive Movement Community Guides resource interview today.
Oh, that's my pleasure, and I appreciate it, and likewise. And I love what you're doing, and I love what you're doing with the music, and bringing that awareness to your audience. It's amazing, and it's needed. You know.
Well, music is that universal language, and we all can hear it. We can all hear those tones. We can
Yeah.
all hear the beats and the rhythms, and that can help bring us together in this world that is very fragmented at times. And so keep doing the wonderful work that you're doing, and I will keep doing the work that I'm doing in this world, and together we shall change the world.
We shall. We shall.
Yeah. Well, thank you, everybody. Thank you so much for joining in on the Thrive Movement Community Guides interview series today. And as we talked today with Jason Richardson and myself on thriving spiritually. Until next month, when we focus on another area to thrive in your life, make it a great day, and be true and be you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Bye bye.